A shocking statistic that I came across the other day said the average American touches their phone over 3,000 times a day. And they spend about 5.5 hours per day looking at that screen. Just 5.5 hours gone. Most of us don't even realize it. We're distracted, we're exhausted, we're overstimulated, and we're convinced for the past 20 years that this is normal. And spoiler alert, this is not normal. A couple of more shocking statistics. A Gallup report from just 3 months ago indicates that 51% of Americans experience stress most of the day. Another shocking statistic in 2022, so 3 years ago, 32% of adults reported feeling more anxious than they did the prior year. That number jumped in 2023 from 32% to 37%, reporting they felt more anxious that year than the previous year. In 2024, that number jumped again to 43%, and this year it's expected to jump to an all-time high of 50%. Half of adults feeling like this year is more anxious than last year. A recent Pew Research Center survey found that 76%, so 3/4 of adults, feel rushed most of the time, indicating a widespread sense of pressure when it comes to time. There's another index that is reported every year called the World Happiness Report. Every year, the United States has placed in the top 20 in that report, except for last year. Last year was the first time that we were not in the top 20. And the report for this year has already come out, and we dropped another spot, indicating that there is a general decline in happiness in our culture, but anxiety and hurry is on a rapid incline. These stats paint a picture of a society that is grappling with the pressure of modern life. We're experiencing digital overload, mental health challenges and disorders like we have never seen before, and this overall sense of scarcity when it comes to time. And that is contributing to a pervasive sense of being overwhelmed as a general rule. What we're going to look at today is this simple question. What if the problem isn't what we're doing, but how fast we're doing it? What if slowing down, if you actually slowed down, what if that could change your life in ways that you can't even imagine and you would not expect? Today, what we're going to talk about is, and I say this in tongue in cheek, so please don't be offended. It's just my twisted sense of humor. What I call the spiritual practice of slowing the F down, if I could put it that way. Our thesis is this: our sense of hurry is literally messing with our mind, our body, our ability to enjoy life, and our relationships. We're also going to talk about some very practical ways to reclaim your time, your focus, your sanity, and your relationship with God, self, and others. So I want to start with a passage from my favorite teacher of all time, and that is Jesus. One of his biographers, Matthew, quotes him in Matthew 11. And I want you to listen to this for a moment, because this is an invitation that was not just extended 2,000 years ago. The invitation is still being offered today. This is what he says. Come to me, all of you who are weary. Are you feeling weary this morning? Check. And burdened. Check. and I will give you rest. Take my yoke, key word there, we're going to unpack that in a moment. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, and you will find rest for your souls. Well, what does that mean? The soul is the total essence and all the dimensions of self. It includes your mind, your body, your emotions, your spirit, your heart, your will. Everything that makes up your personhood is described as your soul. So you will find rest, he says, in the very core and essence and totality of who you are. He says, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. So let's just pause and meditate on that for a moment. Let that land on you. Here is an invitation from Jesus that is extended to those who are tired, burned out, overwhelmed, stressed, overextended, and anxious. Aren't we all in that category? I am. And here's the thing that I have come to believe, that if I want to experience the life of Jesus, I have to adopt the lifestyle of Jesus, even in the modern world. Because the way of Jesus, which is what he invites us to partake in, is a way of living, not just a set of ideas that he taught about, not just a list of moral do's and don'ts. It's not just about theology, though that's part of it. It's not just about ethics in an abstract way. Jesus is inviting us to a certain way of being human that is different than the rest of the world. He calls it a narrow path because most people don't do it. And that's what Jesus is getting at with this metaphor of a yoke. Now, I bet you probably don't have a yoke at your home. That symbol is a little lost on our modern world. But a yoke was very understood by his original listeners. First century agricultural society, they understood what a yoke was. A yoke was literally a wooden beam that was used to tie two animals together, usually ox or donkey. And together they could either plow a field or they could carry a load. That's a yoke. One of the leading scholars on the book of Matthew is named Frederick Del Brunner. He explains it more beautifully than I ever could. He says a yoke is a work instrument. So when Jesus extends this invitation to all of those who are tired and weary and stressed out and overwhelmed, and he offers a yoke, you would think that he would offer a mattress so they could rest, or a vacation so that they could get away. These are the things that most tired people think that they need. He doesn't offer that. When he offers a yoke, he's offering a brand new way to carry life, because our burdens are inevitable. You can't escape them. So he offers a way to bear those burdens that are going to come by simply being human in this world. In other words, instead of escape, Jesus offers equipment. What's the equipment? It's his teachings. It's his way of life. They give us a new rhythm, a new balance, a new way to carry life. And he says it's lighter and it's more sustainable than the way most humans live. So let's focus on this imagery for a moment. We established a yoke usually ties two animals together. Here's what Jesus is basically saying. Come alongside me, match your pace to my pace, tether your life to mine, and I will carry most of the weight. Walk with me, and it will be easier than trying to do it by yourself. That presents a problem for me, probably a problem for you too. Because the hardest part of me taking up this easy yoke that Jesus is describing is for me to slow down enough to actually harness myself to him. And if you've read much about the life of Jesus, you know he was never in a hurry, not once. In fact, the disciples who shared life with him and traveled with him often got frustrated because he wasn't in a hurry. Now, was his life full? Absolutely, it was full. Was he constantly interrupted? Every day. But he was never in a hurry. He was always fully present, and he always made room to find a secret place to connect with his Father or to even take a nap. Now, one of my own spiritual heroes, and I consider this to be one of my spiritual mentors. He's dead now, he's in heaven. But through his writing, I have been greatly influenced by Dallas Willard, the theologian and the philosopher. He mentored someone named John Ortberg for over 20 years. And John Ortberg has written a lot that is also profound and deep when it comes to spiritual formation. But John Ortberg tells the story back in the 90s of calling Willard and saying, I need help. I feel stuck in my spiritual development and I don't know what to do about it. And as they talked, Ortberg asked Willard, what is your advice? What do you recommend? I'm stuck in my spiritual formation. And Ortberg describes that there is a long silence on the other end of the phone, which was often the case when you would talk to Willard, because he would pray and pause before he would answer. And after this long, awkward silence on the phone, Willard said something that was very simple, but quite radical. This is what he said. Hurry is the great enemy of spiritual life. So you must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life. Ortberg describes being blown away by this response. It would have been worthy of a tweet, but Twitter hadn't been invented yet in the 90s. So Ortberg wrote it down. He knew, wow, this is golden. This is really good stuff. So he wrote it down and then he asked Willard, okay, what else do you recommend? Once again, there was this long, awkward silence. And then Willard said, that's it. There's nothing else. I can think of a lot of great enemies to spiritual development, but I would not have listed hurry as the greatest. That you must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life. Think about how countercultural that is. We live in a culture that treats busyness and constant rushing like it's some kind of badge of honor. And what Willard is saying is that kind of lifestyle for your spirituality, it's toxic. It's cancer. It's poison. You can't spiritually grow and live at that pace. It reminds me of the words of Jesus when he spoke to Martha. If you're familiar with the story, Jesus is in the home of two sisters, Mary and Martha. Mary sits at his feet and listens to him teach. Martha is in the kitchen, really anxious, trying to be a hospitable host, getting food ready, cleaning up everything, organizing everything, very frantic, very stressed, and miffed at her sister, Mary, for just sitting there and not helping. When Jesus observed this, this is what he said to Martha. And I think he says it to us today. You are worried and upset about many things. Here was Mary sitting at his feet. And that was the way of Jesus. To be fully present, to slow down, to be in the moment, to pay attention. I'm going to invite you to geek out with me for just a minute, and let's look at history. First, the clock. You know, the thing that we check every 5 minutes? Throughout most of human history, there was no such thing. Do you know who invented the first clock? It was monks. Do you know why they invented it? To organize their prayer life. That was the original purpose. So the first public clock to be used by people was in 1370. Before that, time was based on nature, based on sunrises and sunsets and the seasons. And humans just lived with the rhythm of creation around them. Time was not codified yet. But when we invented the clock, that changed everything. Monumental shift in human behavior. There was another huge shift in the late 1800s when Edison invented the first light bulb. When that became common to the human experience, it's our understanding that it cut our sleep in half. Before the light bulb, the average human slept for 11 hours a night. Can you imagine? And then fast forward a few more decades, and we started having these labor-saving devices. Instead of walking or taking a bicycle or a horse, we had cars. And so this would free up more time because we could get longer distances in quicker amounts of time. And then instead of cooking a meal over a fire or even in an oven, there was the advent of microwaves. We could have food cooked or warmed up in seconds. Instead of manually washing our clothes, we have machines that can now do it for us. Instead of manually washing dishes, we have a dishwasher that we could just put them in and push a button. This prompted the US Senate in 1967 to come out with a report, and this is what the report said. They estimated that by the 1980s, the average American would have so much free time because of all of these technological advances that the average worker would work 27 weeks a year and 22 hours a week. Did that happen? No. Now, I think the most monumental shift in humanity came in 2007. Do you remember what happened in 2007? Within 10 years, it changed the entire human experience. It was the smartphone. Steve Jobs holding this little device in his hand. And the smartphone, within one decade, changed everything because it became ubiquitous. It's still ubiquitous. Everyone has one. We basically carry infinity around in our pocket. Psychologists have made the point that the vast majority of Americans and their relationship to their smartphones falls under the category of at least a compulsion, if not an addiction. We compulsively check our text messages. We compulsively click on social media to see, did we miss something? We have to open that email. Is it an addiction? Here's a standard definition from psychology on what an addiction is. Addiction is the relentless pull to a substance or an activity that becomes so compulsive, it ultimately interferes with everyday life. Just this year, there was a study published by the New York Post where participants spent 2 weeks without their smartphone. And what the finding was in the study was all the participants reported significant improvements after that 2 weeks of fasting from their phone. Significant improvements in mental health, their ability to focus, and their overall feeling of peace and well-being. 71% of the participants said that they experienced improvements in their mental health that exceeded what an antidepressant did for them. Psychology has a new term for this. They call it hurry sickness. Hurry sickness is considered to be a chronic pattern of rushing and anxiety and overextending ourselves. Now, some of you, you're looking at this and you're thinking, does that qualify as PTO? If I have hurry sickness, can I call in sick? Can I take a leave of absence for this condition? Probably not. Philip Zimbardo identified 3 symptoms. So just do a self-check here. If you're in a checkout line and you realize another one is shorter and you hop lines, then you may have hurry sickness. Same thing at a stoplight. If you're approaching a stoplight and this lane has one fewer car than the next, or this lane has a truck that's going to be slow, but this has a car that's going to be faster, and we change lanes. That's hurry sickness. Or if you find yourself multitasking to the point that you forgot what you're doing. Does this sound familiar? Ruth Haley Barton came up with 9 signs that indicate that we're moving too fast through life. Let's look at these. Number 1, irritability. Number 2, hypersensitivity. You could categorize these first 2 as just being reactive. Being reactive. You're so hurried, you're in such a frantic pace that you're hypersensitive and you're irritable. 3, restlessness. What is that? It's hard to turn your brain off at night. Next, compulsive overworking. Next, numbness. That is, you're not attuned to your own emotions because you don't have time, and you certainly can't be empathic to the emotions of another human. You're numb. Next, escapist behaviors. Is that not what our addiction is? It's escaping from anything unpleasant. Next, disconnection from identity. We don't know who we are. We don't know what the purpose of our life is. We don't have time to even reflect on that. Next, we neglect our physical needs. Most of our food is fast food. We don't eat well. We don't take the time to exercise every day because we can't fit it into our day. And finally, to our detriment, we skip spiritual practices. What's the solution to this? Well, it's not more time. We all have the same amount of time each day. We all are confined to the limitation of 24 hours. And even if we could somehow do some kind of sci-fi judo and make 10 extra hours in the day and the new day became 34 hours instead of 24, it wouldn't fix anything. Because every time a new device and technology comes up that is supposed to save time for us, we fill it with more busyness. So the solution is not more time. The solution is slowing down, simplifying, and focusing on what really matters in life. That has been the wisdom of Jesus for 2 millennia. So let me give you just some practical steps on how can we slow down? How can we embrace this easy yoke that Jesus offers? Here are 5 practical suggestions. Number 1, Sabbath. Sabbath. This goes back to our origins. God created everything intentionally in 6 days and took a day to rest. Was it because he was tired? No. It's because he was modeling to us a rhythm of life. He was giving us an example for us to follow, where 1 day a week we get off the treadmill of life. We sleep, we read, we pray, we connect with other humans, we get off our devices. Lock up your phone, be present, be restored for another 6 days of life. This would be very hard for some of you to do, but it becomes incredible when you practice it. You'll be surprised how much more mileage you get out of the other 6 days if you just take a Sabbath once a week. So that's one practical step. Another one, is a very ancient practice that goes back at least to the days of Daniel, if not further. For thousands of years, as part of spiritual formation, people have been observing what's called fixed hour prayer, fixed prayer times. This is nothing elaborate. This is something that I practice. A few minutes in the morning, a few minutes midday, a few minutes every evening to pray and meditate, to get centered, to reconnect with God. Third option, have a scheduled week. This was inspired by monastic traditions and rhythms. It simply looks like this. You plan what your week should look like, your ideal week. You plan it around your values. I'm going to work in these blocks. I'm going to rest in these blocks. I'm going to exercise in this block. My spiritual practices will be in this block. My community and family and my relationships will be in this block. You do that so that your values are in alignment with your intention. But of course, you stay flexible for interruptions from God, interruptions from life, interruptions from the people you love. Stephen Covey says, inner peace comes when our schedule aligns with our values. A fourth option that you could try is simple living, just simplifying life, simple living, or what the poor call living. We who are wealthy, and when I say wealthy, if you have a roof over your head by global definition and by the definition of Jesus, who was a homeless nomad, if you have a home, you are wealthy in this world. And you probably need to simplify your life. You strip it down to what really matters. You clean out the clutter of your life. You reduce the unnecessary commitments. That can even include recovery meetings that are not adding value. You eliminate distractions and everything that is unnecessary and is not adding value to your life. As Thoreau once put it, you begin to live deliberately. You live on purpose. One of the best things I've ever done in my life was 4 years ago when I cut out and canceled all social media and eliminated almost all movies and all TV, except for very rare exceptions that we carefully curate to make sure that they are safe. What I've experienced, more focus, more productivity, less anxiety, more time for my relationship with God, self, Jacqueline, my kids, my brothers in recovery, more rest and more quality rest, more time with God and more time for spiritual practices. Finally, just as we mentioned earlier, slow the F down, slow your pace, drive the speed limit. Some of you, your mind just blew. Some of you, you're in the car right now and just the thump at that is beyond you. Drive the speed limit. Or try this. When you approach a stop sign, I want you to try something that I bet you haven't tried in forever. Come to a full stop. Just try it. It's incredible. Intentionally take the longer line when you check out at the store. Walk slower. Park further away instead of closer. If you show up early for an appointment, try this. Don't take your phone out. I know it's so 90s and we can't imagine this, but just stop and reflect and think. Just be present. Resist your phone. Here's another one. This one is so countercultural. Practice the art and skill of single tasking. Eliminate multitasking. Just do one thing at a time and do it well and fully present. Journal. One way you can know that you have hurry sickness is if you feel like you are allergic to journaling. Like someone just mentions the word journal and you have this visceral response like, I can't sit down that long and do that. We're talking about tiny actions that shift the rhythm of your life, and it makes more space for God, self, and others. Listen, I know what it's like to be busy. I live in a city. I work 3 jobs. I create content like what we're doing right now. I have a family. I have a marriage that I care about. I've got 6 kids that mean the world to me. I live in community with many of you brothers, and I talk to many of you every week. I know how hard this is. I'm in the trenches with you. I'm a type A personality. The most tempting addiction that I could give into today at this stage in my life is workaholism and just getting stuff done and never slowing down. I get exhausted. I get frustrated. I get unhappy. I haven't mastered this, but I have taken, when I am in my best moments, I've taken this yoke. I've followed his rhythm, and I'm telling you, there's no better way to live. So we've spent some time thinking about hurry, distraction, the crazy pace of modern life. We've looked at Jesus' invitation to the tired and the burdened and the overworked. Take up his yoke, find rest. We've unpacked what that means. It's not a magic escape like our addiction was. It's new equipment. It's a new way to carry life. And remember that yoke metaphor? It's not Jesus saying, come here, work harder. He's saying, come work differently. Come alongside me, match my pace, and let me carry the heaviest things for you. It's a decision. It's a daily decision. It's a rhythm. It's a lifestyle. It's a deliberate way of living that actually gives life instead of draining it. And here's the thing. We've all been going too fast. I bet everyone listening, you're juggling so many things right now. Phones, calendars, notifications. They steal your time. They steal your attention. We were never meant to live like this. I think Willard is right. Hurry is the biggest enemy of our spiritual development. We must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from our lives. And honestly, that's true whether you call it spiritual or you just call it sanity. There's truth in that. Here's the good news. You don't have to fix it all today. In our grandiosity as addicts, we tend to make these huge commitments that we can't honor. So you don't need to overhaul your entire life today. Just start small. Take one of the things that's on the screen right now and see how you could apply it. Maybe a Sabbath. Maybe one pause in your day to pray. One moment to slow down and be fully present. Maybe you can simplify your life. Maybe you can slow your pace intentionally and embrace your limitations and begin to live deliberately. Is life still going to be messy? Absolutely. Will work still suck at times? I promise it will. Will people still be annoying and demanding? That'll never stop. But the more you practice slowing down, the more you reclaim your mind, your body, your heart, your relationships, you're going to start to notice the things that really matter in life instead of missing it because we're rushing past them. Let me give a very practical example. I had this wonderful visit with my mom this week. She came to visit us one evening. We shared a meal together, and we went to my 13-year-old son's football game together. She has liver failure. She is dying. We don't know how much time she has left, but the liver's not going to get better. And one of the things that I was meditating on a few days before I saw her was this simple verse from Psalm 39. This is what it says. God, teach me to number my days. Remind me how brief life is. Every one of us is but a breath. And I've been meditating on that. God, what are you showing me here? How do I adjust my life to this? Teach me to number my days. Show me how brief life is, that my life is just a breath. Like on a cold day when you breathe and you see the vapor, and then it disappears. That's human life. That's how brief it is. Teach me to live today as if it is the last. Teach me to encounter my mom today in a way that I act as if it's our last moment together. And that may be sad or discouraging or depressing for you. That's not how I took it. I took it as, I want to spend these 4 hours with my mom as if it's her last. So I want to be fully, fully present. I want to enjoy every moment with her. I want to make sure there's nothing left unsaid. And what would it be like to navigate every encounter like that? Every conversation, making sure if this was the last time that I spoke to my wife, would I want it to be harsh? Would I want it to be me harming her again? If today was my last day, if God's teaching me to number my days and this is the last day, how do I want my interaction with my partner to look like? Where I'll lie to her, I avoid her, I hold on to resentments against her. I want to navigate life in such a way that I suck the marrow out of the bone of that moment where I am fully present, fully alive. I talked to many of you this week. God, teach me to number my days and navigate this conversation with my brother as if it's our last time to talk. Is there anything left unsaid that you want me to say? Here's the takeaway. You're human. You have limits. You're finite. One of your limits is only 24 hours a day. And we are allowed. In fact, we're even called to slow down. Start today. Just one step. Breath by breath, minute by minute, day by day. Slow down. Take this easy yoke. Notice the difference it makes in your life. So let me close with just some questions to reflect on. Number one, how is that affecting your well-being? Mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. How's that going for you right now? Does something need to change? Number two, out of the 5 slowing down practices we looked at, which one feels most doable for you right now? You should probably consider doing that one. Low-hanging fruit. And which feels hardest for you and why? Number 3, if you were to slow down, how would that affect your relationships? What would it mean in your relationship with God, self, and others? Number 4, what does this easy yoke mean for your life today if you were to accept Jesus' invitation? Number 5, if you did what Willard recommended and recognized that hurry is the greatest evil to your spirituality, if you ruthlessly eliminated hurry from your schedule, how would your life be different? And finally, most importantly, make a commitment to yourself. What's one small, concrete step that you will take this week to intentionally slow down?